What's going on, everyone? And happy Powell and earnings day. Today, 59% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red, and we had some key players like NVDA, Microsoft, and Tesla moving in some pretty big ways. In today's video, we're going to cover everything that happened after the FOMC interest rate decision today, what Powell said, what it means for the markets, and as you know, we're going to take a deep dive into Meta, Microsoft, and Tesla's earnings reports because they are moving quite a bit in after hours, which will not only have a direct, big effect for those stocks individually, but also the market as a whole and the rest of earnings season. On top of that, we also have some pretty big news related to NVIDIA that kind of explains what's going on there. Either way, we have so much to talk about today, and we're starting to see some very exciting movement.
Yeah, we definitely are, Mike. The SPY was all over the place today as Powell started to speak and as the FOMC interest rate decision ended up coming out. So everybody's probably like, hey, what did they end up doing today? Well, they held rates steady and they did a pause, right? We talked about this a lot, Mike, over the past couple days and even the past few weeks, how there's been like a well over 90% chance of a pause. And heading into today, it was in the high 90s. So, the pause isn't really what's surprising. And honestly, Powell didn't really surprise me with anything for the future either. He talked a lot about, of course, looking at incoming data and assessing future inflation readings and seeing, okay, what are we going to do? He's kind of at the point right now where they're at a good middle ground and they're kind of just assessing the data and seeing what's going to happen at these future meetings. But Mike, I did keep a close eye today on the CME FedWatch tool, and it looks like there is a more solidified pause chance for March and May here. So I found that very interesting. And even for June, the cut chance did increase by 2%, but nothing too crazy. But some of these numbers did adjust a little today. But I think just seeing that the pause solidified for March is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, no doubt. And to simplify things even more, basically Jerome Powell is in a position where he doesn't want to cut rates just yet, because if he does that, there's a real risk that inflation can get a little bit out of control, and that is basically the last thing he wants, and as well as everyone else. Right now, it looks like the next interest rate cut will happen on June 18th of 2025, of course, and Powell basically said that we don't have to wait until we see 2% inflation before we cut interest rates, but we do want to actually see some better progress, and he expects to, see that progress in the future. So that's the main summary right now. And of course, Trump has been very vocal about cutting interest rates down, and Powell is not that happy to play that game with them. And Trump fired at Powell today after market close, basically blaming him for a lot of the, problems we've had in the economy over the past few years. So I think it's going to be a very interesting thing to see how this Trump and Powell beef ends up playing out because, the Fed technically is independent.
It really is, and a lot of people kept asking Powell today during the press conference as he was asking questions at the end of it. They kept asking him, hey, are you going to give us more reassurance that you're independent? And of course, he said yes. And then they tried to get him to comment on Trump. And he's like, I will not be commenting on these political things. And Powell said this time and time again. And he's not going to let politics, influence his decisions. And I'm sure Trump will try to push him a lot and try to create a lot of public pressure, but we'll see if it ends up breaking him. I doubt it does. Jerome Powell has been the man for the past 5 years, but I will say though, Mike, I kind of see where Trump's coming from here. We've been through this whole thing with Powell since 2020, of course. He called for transitory shortly after that, and then we've been through this whole debacle for 5 years. It's are we finally going to get out of it?
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun 2025 in this sense. So good stuff there, Tom. But this earnings week is a giant one, and Tesla is one of the major reports from today. So initially, their earnings didn't seem all that great, considering they missed on their revenue and profit expectations. Their operating margin continued to drop, and the stock, was just a little bit shaky in after hours, but it is starting to show more signs of strengthening, which is definitely a good sign.
Yeah, this is awesome to see. It's coming back very well here, back above $400, which was great. And initially, whenever I saw the report come out and I saw Tesla starting to fall down, Mike, I definitely became extremely worried. But as we know, there's a lot of positives with Trump and Elon Musk here. This can help Elon, and I think that it also helps maybe their outlook over the next couple years, and should help on that side of things, and maybe even like with robo-taxis and helping with regulations passing quicker and etc. So at the end of the day, Tesla's now up above $400 a share, which is great to see. And, just getting into some of the numbers just a little bit deeper, the EPS came in at 73 cents for 76 cents, and the revenue came in at 25.71 billion, under that 27.26 billion expectation. So that's the negative headline, but hey, still moving up pretty well.
No doubt, especially for missing on revenue and profit. So good stuff there with Tesla, but we also have to talk about what's going on with Meta. So they actually beat on their revenue and profit expectations, and they had some pretty good news in the sense where more people are using their platform than everyone was expecting. As we could see here, that their daily active people came in at 3.35 billion. That's a crazy number, but that was higher than the estimates of 3.32 billion people daily, so that's crazy. But then also the revenue guidance was a little bit soft and just not as good as everyone was hoping for. So Meta's earnings were decent, but I wouldn't say they were anything to truly that were truly crazy.
Yeah, it was good, though, to see the EPS and revenue beat at least. And I know that Zuckerberg was happy with some of the growth last year with glasses and some of those things that they've been working on in the background. So hopefully we keep seeing these things pick up. But that is pretty crazy, Mike, to say that you have over 3 billion daily active users. Not many people in the world, I doubt if any, can say that. But looking at Meta's chart a little bit more here in After Hours, they also went crazy in both directions. At first we started seeing them drop off, and then now they're starting to come back a bit. So hopefully we see this positivity keep up, Mike. And I will say Meta has been one of the more positive stocks in the short term. If we go to an hourly chart and we just zoom out the past few months and even to the beginning of 2024, it has been one heck of a good year for them.
No doubt. So in After Hours, it's more of a chop fest right now, but like you said, when you zoom out, they are still flying high. So that's good to see there. Transitioning over to Microsoft, they also had some good news in the sense that they beat on revenue and profit, even though their stock doesn't seem to reflect that. But basically, their revenue grew 12% year over year, which is pretty awesome. And they also, grew their net income from 21.87 billion all the way up to 24.11 billion. They did have some later growth with their Azure and cloud computing services, but overall good earnings when you read the fundamentals, but the stock wasn't all that hot.
Yeah, and I think it's really coming down to some of that cloud growth, right? Especially when you're talking about cloud and AI and things in that type of sector, we would say. It's definitely not good to see. So overall, Microsoft, not the best reaction to the report so far. I'm definitely going to pay a lot more attention tomorrow to Meta and Tesla, that's for sure, especially with the way that they're moving. And of course, Tesla is just a favorite because of Elon Musk, of course.
All right, so as we look at Tesla, Microsoft, and Meta, understand that these stocks will continue to move in big, crazy ways throughout After Hours, especially as these companies have their conference calls. So by the time you're watching this video, make sure to do another check on these stocks because they're going to continue to move in a crazy way from right now all the way until the end of the day tomorrow, and you can even argue for throughout the rest of the week. So keep them close on watch. But looking at some more earnings for this week, we have Apple set to report tomorrow after the bell, which will be very important as well, and a handful of other stocks like Intel, Visa, and a bunch of other ones. So keep a close eye out for that. But another thing I did did want to cover really quickly is Starbucks actually reported after the bell yesterday, and they are having a phenomenal earnings continuation move where Starbucks is up over 8% on the day, which is a ton for a company like this one. They announced that they're going to be like cutting like 30% of their menu and, doing some refinements with their business just in general. And, this stock is moving with a lot of momentum right now, but it has also been uptrending in a pretty strong way over like the past few months.
It really has, and this stock has taken a lot of flack over the past couple of years, Mike. Like if we zoom out over the past couple of years, they've been in a pretty bad downtrend, and with this move today, they started to really break out above this trend, and my fiance actually holds some Starbucks in her IRA, funny enough. She loves Starbucks, so we've been definitely following that one a lot over the past couple of years, but it's starting to come back very well, and I would say some of these recent dips with Starbucks have provided some really good opportunities. So just keep that in mind with some of these earnings here. We're seeing some good continuations, and we might see some more great price action for the next couple days. But I know one thing today, Mike, that did not bring in some good price action, and that is what is going on with NVIDIA right now. And we kept hearing throughout the course of Biden's administration, Biden's restricting these NVIDIA chips. Oh my gosh, more chip restrictions. And then these stocks start tanking down. Well, today in the middle of the day, SPY and pretty much all the tech stocks, NVIDIA, QQQ, Microsoft, Google, most of these stocks started tanking down right around 12 noon Central or 1 p.m. Eastern time, right where the arrow's pointing to on the chart. And this was before Powell actually started speaking. And what's going on here is now Trump is coming out saying that they're looking to tighten curbs on NVIDIA's China sales. So I don't know, Mike. These headlines with NVIDIA's restrictions and regulations are just never ending right now.
Seriously. So, some other things worth adding is that, these talks are, in the very early stages, so there's not, a ton of information to give at this point in time, but I do think that this represents, something, in a broader sense that, the US government is really trying to clamp down on who NVIDIA can sell their products to. And they are especially concerned with China getting their hands on them, of course, because of everything AI related, but also in a military sense, I guess it does, bring upon some serious risks. So either way, I guess just keep this general news in mind because it's not the best news for NVIDIA.
Yeah, it's really not. And one thing I will say is that NVIDIA is moving up in after hours right now, so it seems like it's shaking off the news pretty quickly, at least at this moment. So just realize that NVIDIA is probably going to follow more of these tech earnings than probably this news, at least right now. But once we get more details and more of the fine print with this, then I think we might see more of a larger move.
There we go. All right, Tom. Well, as we look at SPY right now, it was technically a slight red day. We had a handful of big tech earnings. We have Apple set to report tomorrow after the bell. What are the most important levels for us to keep our eyes on? And then what are you seeing in terms of the charts?
As far as SPY price action today, I'm actually pretty disappointed. That was a big chop fest with Powell. We actually did not get any direction picked, which is kind of a sad thing to see here today. But in the short term, there is still a big recent high and double top right around 605 to 605.50, and SPY even touched there again in pre-market today. This is going to be major for tomorrow. If SPY cannot break this, then I'm going to definitely stick to the bear side, or at least to the neutral/flat side on the SPY. If we do get the breakout, this gap fill up to the 607 to 608 range will be very important to see. Filling this gap from last week into this week is going to be very important. If we can fill that gap, that would be a really good sign for the SPY into tomorrow. I think that as far as a good low to watch for tomorrow, we still have to watch $599 to $600. I would say 600 more importantly, Mike, but we keep getting these wicks that extend $1 under there. So I'm just going to say $599 so that people don't, get wiped out as 600 breaks. But $600 is still crucial. The SPY ended up holding that this afternoon and did not break down. So a bit of a lackluster day as far as SPY price action goes.
It is getting pinned though, because when you look at that support right around, let's just say that like $600 area or so, it's been holding up in a strong way. But when you like also zoom out, you could see that SPY is also making a lower high again. It had that all-time high last week, right around like $610 a share, and it made that recent lower high right around like 605.50 or so. And it's just not the best sign to see. And especially when you have like some of the biggest stocks in the market right now, like NVIDIA, moving in a way that has been more bearish than, they've seen in like recent times, it definitely does present risk to like the market overall. And then especially considering we just saw, 3 big tech stocks report after the bell today, and then we have Apple tomorrow and even more next week. What these big tech stocks do will have a giant direct influence on what the market does, and they're going to move in a pretty big way considering they just reported earnings.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we still need to let a lot of these earnings play out too. Like right now, the SPY seems a bit pinned and we're seeing a bit of mixed price action. Microsoft's down, Tesla's up, and then Meta is now flying up as well, up to around $600. So hopefully by tomorrow morning, we start to see SPY get some more directional movement going on here. And definitely for tomorrow, though, I think the most important level of the short term is definitely that 605.50 level that, of course, we keep bringing up. If that breaks, that would be a great sign.
Sounds good. And then looking at tomorrow's events, we do have some GDP data set to release 1 hour before open. And then Friday, we have some very important data with the PCE price index, also 1 hour before open. This is actually the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, so this will definitely be important. But besides that, Tom, we are all clear for the good stuff for today, which are some setups and predictions. A stock that is definitely on my radar is JP Morgan, and it is to the downside. It actually made brand new all-time highs today, right around that $270 area, but it rejected in a pretty harsh way. Not only did it reject off 270, but it actually gave all of its gains up from today and finished down in the red. On top of that, the stock has been uptrending in a pretty strong way over the past couple of weeks. So it's getting to that point where, it's getting a little bit overextended, and we're starting to see the implied volatility on this stock rise as well, which essentially means that people are expecting it to be more volatile than they previously thought. So for those reasons, JP Morgan is definitely on my bearish radar. I do not like this rejection at 270, and the fact that it gave up all of its gains from today says a lot in my opinion.
Yeah, that was pretty rough, and that's a big whole dollar level there. I would not be surprised to see a bit of a slowdown. It definitely seems like it's getting to that overextended territory, that's for sure. With my first setup, I'm actually looking at Roblox for a continuation to the upside. RBLX was up 2.41% today. I've been talking about this one on the uptrend for a while now. It's been continuing to go in a great way, and I'm really just looking for this continuation tomorrow. It's right around 70. If we can see that break of the high of day today, which is just above 70, right around $70.70, then I'll keep watching this one up. It's been on one hell of a run, so I'm definitely not going to look for it to slow down yet. But I will say, it's getting to that point of being overextended, so don't get caught bag holding this. Make sure that you see the break like we've been seeing pretty consistently, and if you don't catch that, there's not really a big opportunity here.
Alrighty. Another stock that is close on watch is PANW. This one sold off in a pretty hard way today, and when you look at the price action right from open, you can see that it was just nasty. The stock came, crashing down basically with very little pops up along the way. We can see that this downtrend is already continuing in after hours, and it's already breaking the $185 support level. I'm seeing like a big buying and selling imbalance here. And the stock is, just moving in a relatively weak way. Also on a broader time frame, we could see it has been making lower highs over the past couple of months or so, which goes to show that the selling pressure is becoming more and more urgent. So either way, PANW is on my bearish radar.
Yeah, that looks pretty awesome here as it's starting to reverse this trend. It was moving up pretty well on the recovery, but today is pretty brutal, so I'll definitely be watching it down as well, Mike. With my next setup, I'm looking at NVIDIA, and I'm looking at the Bookmap here. So NVIDIA is going to be pretty crazy for me in the short term, Mike, and I'm going to talk about a major support in the short term, right around $120. This is pretty much the low of day from today, and we're seeing NVIDIA bounce off of this in a pretty awesome way. Now, NVIDIA had that bad news today with the Trump administration, so of course keep that on the radar, but with the recovery in after hours, I am liking this level a lot, Mike. There was over 1 million shares stacked up at $120 today. For being such a big stock like NVIDIA is, a million shares is quite a bit. And I did notice that there was just a ton of buyers stacked up underneath here. So there's a lot of buying liquidity, but there's not really a ton of selling liquidity overhead here. So I thought that this was a very interesting dynamic here for NVIDIA today. So I am going to be watching it for a possible bounce with that $120 support. But I will say though, Mike, with somewhere with a level that has over 1 million shares stacked at it, if it starts to break, then you definitely have to adjust maybe back to the downside. So keep that in mind as well.
Definitely. Yeah, when you have 1 million shares stacked up there, it's definitely nothing to ignore. Now, I would even say like that $120 area even has like a little bit of a psychological component to it as well. But either way, NVIDIA will be close on watch for multiple reasons. But yeah, this buy level is definitely important. So good stuff there. And let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have QBTS to the downside.
Yeah, QBTS ended up falling down today. A little double bottom here in the short term. If they break under $5.40, keep watching them down.
All right, with the next one, we have Hood to the upside.
Robinhood has been pretty hot here. If they break out above $51.80, keep watching them to the upside.
All right, and then with the last one, we have UEC to the upside.
A uranium stock here. They're starting to base off of support, but they do have some pretty good movement. If they can break out above $7.30, watch them to the upside as well.
Sounds good. So we have UEC and Hood on watch for potential moves higher, and we have QBTS on watch for a potential move lower. These three stocks are only potential plays if they break the levels listed. The stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. Have stop losses and adjust with the trend changes. It's a necessity in all types of trading, but it is especially important for momentum, trend following day trades like these ones. And besides that, Tom, it is now about that time for today's $1.12 million big money trade. And we are looking at gold, not actual gold, but Barrick Gold. So ticker symbol GOLD. Basically, the big money bought the 17 strike call options that expire on March 21st of 2025. Like I said, this is a $1.1 million trade, and the big money is looking to profit off of a move to the upside here. GOLD has been consolidating for some time now, and it definitely is at the lower end of its recent range. One thing that I thought was very interesting is that while this company is a gold mining company, when you look at the actual price of gold, it is getting very close to its all-time high. So basically, we can see that gold is trading for around like $2,760 an ounce right now, and the all-time high is at like $2,790 an ounce. So it's very close, and it's been uptrending quite a bit over like the recent months. And then another thing that is, that goes right along with this is that gold inventories in New York are surging quite a bit based off of, some Trump tariff fears. So, it makes sense. And a lot of people resort to gold in times of just like uncertainty. And I think the price definitely reflects that.
Yeah, that is a crazy dynamic to see it shooting up as much as it is right there. I mean, the last time we saw this shoot up, it shot up in a crazy way and continued for quite a while. So I'll definitely be watching this very closely, Mike. But going back to the gold chart, it is definitely low in the short term. It's been falling down over the past few months. And I know that that's been pretty crazy to see because, like you said, gold prices themselves have actually been kind of rising up, especially the past few weeks. So it's good to see GOLD starting to bounce off support. Hopefully we see the support hold up longer, and with it being over $1 million in the big money play, I like it quite a bit because the support gives it a really good risk reward ratio.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that this big money trade is a little bit riskier than most, given that it is the 17 strike and the stock is like closer to like $16 right now. So it will have to move a decent amount for this option to be in the money. But, you know, the trade off to that is that while the probability of it winning is decreased, in the event we do see a big move out of GOLD, these options have the ability to do very well. So either way, keep this one close on watch, and let's give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Shotbait, in the StockedUp trading floor, who had a great post today with NVDA and Boeing. He had some pretty awesome profits there, and it's definitely worth shouting out. So huge shout out to you. Keep up the great work going forward, and it is awesome to see posts like this one. If you guys are new to the StockedUp YouTube channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. It takes us hours to make these videos, and we cover the most important news, earnings, events, chart setups, big money plays, FOMC recaps, and everything you have to know about the market in around 20 to 25 minutes or less. When there's more to cover, we take the time to just cover everything that's needed. So if you want our videos recommended to you more often, definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button and joining the StockedUp crew. We also have our weekly live event tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join the trading floor, definitely check that out. It'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below. In my opinion, this is one of the best times of the week. We have a great community who attends these events, and it's a nice Q&A. And with the trading floor, you also get access to our full army of trading robots. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, access to big money trades, and access like everything you could possibly need for short-term trading. So definitely check that out with the first link in the description and the comments down below. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.